Hi Flutes, longtime freelancer here, and I want to mention or talk about a little bit a really important thing that you need to be able to do to be a long-lasting and successful freelancer beyond your playing ability, and that is being connected, networking, being connected to the people actually in the scene. You really need to actively, proactively do, especially when you're just starting out somewhere or if you move to a new city or something. You're going to have to take steps to make yourself known as a flute player in town, and also make it known that you are interested in, being on a sublist or being considered to be hired for jobs. So you have to connect to the people that are actually in the freelancing scene. You can't just hope and wish that you got on a sublist somewhere or that you got called for certain jobs and just sit at home like a hermit. You have to, no one's gonna seek you out. That's probably the best advice I could give. No one's gonna come seek you out. There's literally hundreds of flute players in your town. So you need to make yourself known and connect to the people that are in the scene. I think the main thing you could do, the most important thing you could do to get yourself connected is get on a sublist of an orchestra. It can be a regional orchestra, even if you're just starting out, a community orchestra that hires out some professionals to fill in, or a full-time orchestra, of course, any kind of orchestra or professional group, to get on their sublist. From there, you really make connections, of course, with the flute players there, and oftentimes there's contractors within those orchestras, and then from there you can be more connected. And I do have a video, I'll link it in the description here, on the steps to take on how to get yourself on a sublist, how to contact that principal flute player to play for him or her, and you have to do it just right. Another good thing to do is to contact just like the working freelancers in your town. So who's always at the job? There's freelancers that maybe aren't part of an actual orchestra, and you just want to be on their radar. So you need to reach out to them, contact them. And the best way to go about that is to reach out to them to get a lesson, just a one-off lesson or a couple lessons or something. It's a win-win because you get a lesson with somebody, and you also make that connection, which is what you're trying to do here. Another thing to do, which is really easy, that I think a lot of flute players or young people right out of music school don't take advantage of, is just go out and be on the scene. Just go to the concerts. If a flute friend of yours is giving a recital, just go to it. Or if there's a chamber group and you're like, I don't really like woodwind quintet, who cares? You go, and then you talk to the people afterwards. That's all part of connecting. You have to be, again, you just have to be out in the world to make connections. And if you're visible, people remember you. So if a working flute player all of a sudden gets asked, I need a last minute sub, or they need for themselves a last minute sub, they're gonna think, who? And they just go in their memory. Who have I seen? Who's on social media? I'll talk about that in a minute. They're gonna go through their memory. And if you're not visibly in the scene, they're not going to think of you at all. It's more important than you may think to be out and about. And then social media. So I mentioned that in passing, is so important. I know a lot of people hate it or think it's stupid, and there's valid points in that. Social media can be an all-consuming waste of time and with a lot of garbage on it. However, if you use social media in the right way for what we're talking about here, making connections, being a freelancer, it's very, very helpful. If you have a visible presence online is like this other reality. I mentioned being visible, going out to actual concerts in real life, but there's also a whole world online now, as I'm sure we're all aware. And if you're not part of that, you will probably be forgotten when it comes time for contractors or other flute players to think of subs. You don't have to be super active on social media, if you don't want to. And it can backfire, social media, if you're posting a bunch of stuff that is very negative or immature or inappropriate. Yeah, regardless of playing the flute or not, that's a red flag for people. Like they can find another flute player that's not weird. But if you do post, and you post generally positive things, or maybe videos of yourself playing, or a comment supporting another colleague, I think all that's great. It just makes you visible in that online world. At the very least, I would at least have an account. So have a Facebook account, an Instagram account. Those are the two main ones, I think. I mean, that might evolve to you must have TikTok or something, and whatever else is going to come along. Because I've come across a handful of times that I will be contacted via Facebook Messenger for a last minute gig from some random, like string player, like, oh my God, I need a flute player for this. Can you do this? And if I was not on Facebook, I would never see that. Or I guess you can get Messenger without being on Facebook. But regardless, you need to have at least an account with your profile of you holding your flute. If that's the primary purpose of that account, is so people can contact you. So you need to make yourself reachable. It's very easy if somebody is like, oh, I want to reach out to this person. They're not going to look up your website, or even sometimes your email. They're not going to go through a union, like musicians union roster like we used to in the old days, and try to find contact information. People are just going to go online and like, let me see if they're on Facebook, let me see if they're on the Instagram, and send them a message through there. And that's usually how initial contacts are made. And then after that, you give out your emails and phone numbers and stuff like that. So it's just really important. Okay, so that's basically it. Be involved in things, be visible, be contactable, and do the proactive work, make connections, and make yourself known. So freelancing can be very tricky because there's no set rules on how to go about doing it. You don't learn this stuff in college. And so that's the purpose of a lot of my videos that I have on this channel, is how you go about these details. How do you contact a principal flute player? How important is networking? All the little unspoken rules on stage etiquette to make sure you're hired back. All this stuff is super important, I would say, all the time, beyond your playing. Like your playing, everyone's great. Everyone's a great flute player, but you have got to get the other things together to be a successful freelancer, like making connections and all the other things. And just like a complete guide of freelancing, I do have another video called Essential Freelancing or something like that. I'll link that also in the description. So please hit subscribe, and then you will be in the loop for future videos coming up on this topic of how to freelance and all other related things about playing the flute professionally. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you at the next one.